Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. News summary from Moscow program. Today is 3rd of September. Now it's 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. And as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments that Russian media pays attention to, Russian public. And hopefully you will find news segment informative and interesting. And if so, please, dear friends, like the video and leave some commentary. This might help to deal with the algorithm. And also, as it is the case always, I will join community chat after news segment. And if you want to discuss certain topics, please use capital letters in your comments or the questions that are directed to me so that I will spot it a little easier. And also you can use super chat feature or rant feature on Rumble to highlight question or the comment. And so, yes, that's it, I guess, for intro. Today I'm not late, dear friends, unlike yesterday, but I had a reason to be some 21 minutes late yesterday. I had to watch and listen to speech of Russian president on Valdai Club, discussion club, and then subsequent Q&A part. And that was justification, basically. But I hate when I'm late, ever. So today I'm on time. Let's start the new segment, dear friends, now. And well, let's make window this close. And so first report, dear friends, about work of Russian air defense systems. Quite often I began my updates with such a report, which is based on Russian Defense Ministry's latest update that overnight, air defense systems on duty intercepted 20 drones that was launched by Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky to strike deep into Russian territory, of course, with assistance of NATO. 9 drones were intercepted over the Black Sea, 4 drones over the Voronezh region, 3 each over the Crimea and the Belgorod region, and 1 drone over the Kursk region. Relatively low level of activity in terms of these long-range strikes. Attempts, at least on part of NATO and their proxy regime in Kiev. Possibly they are stockpiling drones to launch relatively bigger strikes in upcoming days. Usually that's how it happens, isn't it? There is a low-level attacks, 10, 20, 30 drones for several days, and then 100, 150 drones are launched. We will see. Air defense systems are ready to deal with aerial targets anyways, anytime. Also, dear friends, last night Russian armed forces conducted long-range precise strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Zelensky regime. And you can see on your screen right now a map that is coming from kill control territory about approximate directions of the Russian strikes. According to monitoring groups, in kill control territory, explosions were heard in directions of Poltava, Kharkov region, Bucha, Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, and Konotop. I guess this is not a full picture. During the day, probably we will learn some more about last night's attack, and I will share additional information in my next updates. TASS news agency is also reporting that, according to Russian military expert Andrei Marochko, Kiev region's forces are pulling out or withdrawing from Yampol settlement. Let's go through some details here. Ukrainian command is pulling units northwest and west of Yampol in Donetsk People's Republic, as Ukrainian armed forces personnel are unable to cope with the Russian army's pressure on the town. Military expert Andrei Marochko told the TASS news agency. Marochko also noted that the Ukrainian forces command is still trying to exploit the terrain near Yampol in an attempt to hold their line near the settlement, as it is extremely difficult. But Ukrainian soldiers are still unable to cope with the pressure of our military personnel. And let me show you, dear friends, on the map where Yampol is. I forgot to open map before I start a live stream, but I will find this settlement easy. It's in between Seversk and Liman, this Yampol settlement. And this is Seversk, dear friends, town. Russian militaries already are conducting operations inside the city. This is Liman, and this is Yampol. settlement that we are talking about. Already for several days, reports are coming in, even longer than several days, that Russian armed forces actually are inside the Yampol settlement, a relatively larger settlement, and they're liberating the village, street by street. So that's the area that Kiev regime's forces are withdrawing from, and okay, I guess it's not going to be too long before Russian armed forces establish control over their Yampol settlement, which is definitely has strategical meaning right now, because it's located almost directly in between, in middle of between Seversk and Liman. Once Yampol will fail, of course, the situation for Kiev regime's garrison in Seversk will deteriorate tremendously straight away. And I think Russian troops will first liberate Seversk and then most likely Liman, which is also heavily fortified according to all the reports that I have seen. Let's continue with some other news, dear friends. And well, I already spoke quite a lot yesterday about speech of Russian president during the Valdai discussion club, his participation in the work of Valdai discussion club. Also, there was a subsequent Q&A part, but nevertheless, of course, media, not just here in Russia, but worldwide, continues to discuss this topic, going through details, what Putin said, what he meant by this and that kind of stuff. RT is no exception. And let me give you their article, what they pay attention to what topics. So multipolar world as a response to Western hegemony, one of the topics that RT chose from Putin's speech. The world is undergoing rapid and drastic changes, Putin said, adding that it is easy to get lost in a model where nothing is truly determined. The rise of multipolar world is a neutral response to heavy-handed policies of the West, he argued, and he's on point there for sure. Multipolarity has become a direct consequence of attempts to establish and preserve global hegemony, response by the international system and the history itself to their obsessive desire to arrange everyone into a single line, with the Western countries at their top. The failure of such an endeavor was only a matter of time, he stated, and well, this is true. Hardly anyone will argue with that. Erosion of democracy, another topic that Putin spoke and RT is paying attention to. So Putin insisted that the very concept of democracy is deteriorating in the West. Democratic electoral procedures have been turned into farce attempts to manipulate the will of the people. It won't work. We've seen this in Romania, for example. It happens in many countries. Putin said, and well, in Romania, well, people did vote for a candidate that they wanted to, but eventually what globalists did, they just annulled the elections, right? So yes, democracy is in decline in the West, in their own interpretation of the democracy, right? In different parts of the world, democracy might have different interpretations, right? And everywhere, democracy, this system of values, let's say, is adapted to local history and culture and their traditions. And that's how it's supposed to be, I guess, right? To work properly. And when it comes to Western world, clearly democracy is in decline in their own interpretation, because after all, people being jailed, by the way, literally. I have watched yesterday, I cannot remember which big channel was that in alternative media, but report was that some 12,000 arrests were conducted in UK, by the way, for posts on social media, and quite often just some banal posts, which is insane, isn't it? After all, freedom of speech and expression was one of the keystones of Western democracies, and it's in question now, isn't it? In 2024, Romania's top court annulled the results of the presidential elections, citing fraud and foreign meddling, while frontrunner Galin Georgescu was banned from participating in the rerun, which is factual, of course. Putin also said that institutions such as OSCE have become politicized and baseless, basically, while EU is no longer a powerful civilization center it once was. Also, some might agree with the Russian president on that, some might don't. But on the case of OSCE, he is definitely correct. This organization, and Putin himself highlighted yesterday that during his speech that OSCE organization of security and cooperation in Europe was created to deal with the conflicts on a European space, right? But eventually, because organization become a tool in hands of globalists and neocons quite rapidly, eventually this organization become a weapon against Russia mainly and other post-Soviet republics. And it definitely lost their basis, right, on which it could thrive ideally, but it did not. When it comes to EU, by the way, EU is Europe, I will say, not an EU necessarily, but Europe definitely was one of the centers of civilization, and it's no longer the case, I guess, right? It's no longer the case because level of decline in Europe is just tremendous. European, it seems like a number of European elites, at least, maybe not necessarily people, but elites no longer cherish their own history, their own traditions, their own people, right? And are destroying social fabric with their policies that are based on this ignorance, right? And that's why I guess many countries in Europe, according to some experts, by the way, are on the brink of internal confrontations and there are even civil wars. So Europe definitely had good moments in history and bad moments. One might argue, yes, it was one of the greatest civilizations of humanity, alongside all the civilizations. But it is no longer a case, by the way. Europe is losing relevance. Russian president definitely emphasized that yesterday in his speech, and he did not went as far as to say what I am saying, that in 20, 30 years, Europe will become loosely relevant in best case of scenario and completely irrelevant in a worst case of scenario for Europe, part of the Eurasian continent. But trajectory is there. Trajectory is clearly there. And I guess Putin is on the same page, even if he did not went that far in his statements. The West should focus on its own problems, Putin also said, and that is highlighting this moment. Putin dismissed the claims that Russia intends to attack the EU or NATO, saying politicians who promote this are either grossly incompetent or crooked and lying to their citizens. It's both. It's both simultaneously somehow, I think. And we have a quote here from Putin. Honestly, all I want to say is relax, sleep well, or address your own issues, Putin said, urging the EU to focus on migration, for example, and its own economical problems instead. Good advice, I will say. Russia can't afford to be weaker. Russian president also said, history shows that weakness is not an option for Russia, Putin argued. For some, he said, it creates temptation, an illusion that disagreements with us can be resolved through force. He argued that the Ukraine conflict has transformed the Russian army into one of the most combat-ready forces in the world, with their ability to rapidly adapt to their changes. And he is on a point here, isn't it? I said many times before that I think when it comes to ground forces, Russian militaries definitely are number one. No one is even close. Truly, I mean, there can be arguments which country has a more capable air force, which country has more capable navy, but when it comes to ground forces, well, I don't think there is any armies in this world, even even close to capabilities that Russian army are capable of. It's just factual. Also, Putin argued that I already mentioned that if we are, and also, dear friends, yesterday I did spoke about this moment when Putin commented on statements of Trump about Russia being paper tiger and stuff, and Putin said that Russia is basically at war, or collective West basically, and NATO is at war with Russia, right, de facto. And nevertheless, Russian armed forces advancing all along the front line. And Putin said, I mean, if we are a paper tiger, then what is the NATO that is fighting against us? And we still, and NATO is dozens and dozens of countries, right? And we still advancing. And here the point. And we have quote here, if we are at the war with the entire NATO bloc, we have to be confident in ourselves, and we are confident, Putin also stated. And when it comes to France and the piracy, when asked about France's seizure of an oil tanker allegedly belonging to supposed Russian shadow fleet used to bypass sanctions, Putin compared it to piracy. I did spoke about yesterday too. He downplayed the incident as an attempt to distract waters from domestic issues. What do you do with the pirates? You destroy them. And this is quote from Putin, by the way. What else should be done to pirates? Putin asked. This does not mean a war will break out across the world oceans tomorrow, but the risk is a risk of collisions will certainly increase sharply and significantly, Putin said. And when it comes to this paper tiger stuff, I already said what Putin stated, but let's go through RT's quotes here. Putin rejected US President Donald Trump's recent description of Russia as a paper tiger, suggesting Trump might have been speaking ironically. He stressed that the Russian army has been steadily making gains and inflicting heavy casualties on Ukrainian troops. What's next? Well, in the case, go and confront this paper tiger, but as you can see, the reality on the ground is different, he said. Putin claimed that Ukraine lost nearly 45,000 soldiers in September alone, adding that Russia is de facto at war with the whole of NATO. At the same time, he praised Trump for being willing to listen to Russia's arguments during the negotiations. He mentioned this stuff in regards to Alaska. And by the way, yesterday, definitely in his statements, Putin was quite polite. He was not escalatory towards anybody, and definitely not towards the U.S., despite all the hostile steps that the U.S. administration is taking. And I assume a reason behind it is that I guess maybe Putin himself and also a number of his advisors or people from his inner circle still believe that there can be some. There is still chance to persuade American leadership to pull out their country from this proxy war against Russia, because there is nothing in it for U.S. national interests, right? And as long as Putin and his inner circle believes in such a possibility, I guess Moscow will continue to be to treat Trump and his team little differently than Biden and Biden's administration, previous administration. Although, by the way, we should recall all the times during the Biden's administration, Russian leadership was also quite polite, isn't it? Unlike Western so-called leaders, Russian president never really goes on personal insults and stuff like that. He is just not operating that way, right? And even towards Biden's administration, Moscow was quite diplomatic. When it comes to Tomahawk missiles, Putin stated that Tomahawks would not tip the scale, of course. Putin warned that the delivery of Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine would not change the course of their conflict, but would further escalate tensions with the US. All through some Western media outlets suggested that Trump was considering providing the missiles. Reuters reported on First day that shipments are unlikely since the US has no known to spare the delivery, and I do have information about that. The delivery of these weapons would mark a new stage of escalation, Putin said, arguing that Ukraine cannot operate them without direct US military involvement. So, a couple of points that Putin, that RT paid attention from Putin's speech. I did pay attention to much more topics, I think, in yesterday's live stream. But anyways, dear friends, I think this additional information was also useful. Also, after this speech and Q&A on Valday discussion club, you would think that Putin was extremely tired and he went to have a rest. No, no. By the way, he went to have another working meeting with the president of Republika Srpska of Bosnia and Herzegovina. You can see on your screen right now picture from the meeting. And let me give you some details. So Vladimir Putin has held the talks in Sochi with Milorad Dodik, president of the Republika Srpska of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And we have quote from Putin's greeting speech there. I'm very pleased to meet you again, this time on the sidelines of the Valday club in Sochi. You recently celebrated Serbian Unity Day on September 15. I want to congratulate you. I know the situation in your country, Bosnia and Herzegovina, is extremely challenging. One might even say complicated, the Russian leader noted. He added that he would be interested to hear Dodik's assessments. Putin also emphasized that his interlocutor is doing a great deal to build a cooperation with Moscow. And Dodik, on his part, also greeted the obviously Russian president and asked her not to leave Republika Srpska one-on-one with the EU. And I think her answer from Russian president was positive on that. Moscow will assist Republika Srpska, I assume. And dear friends, you might ask, what the hell is going on? How come that Putin has so many meetings with Dodik in just past couple of months? At least 3 meetings, by the way. Since May, I can recall at least 3 meetings, if I remember correctly, between Russian president and the leader of Bosnian Serbs, or Republic of Srpska. And this is serious stuff, isn't it? Russian president don't has meetings on monthly basis, basically, with the Russian governors, right? And he had 3 meetings at least since May, I believe, with the Dodik. And you might ask, what the hell, what is going on, And I think one of the reasons, this is my interpretation, dear friends, of the situation, I think Bosnia and Herzegovina is destined for disintegration. It's only due to hostile policies of the EU and the hostile policies of the EU proxy regime in Bosnia. I think decision on part of Bosnian Serbs to separate it from Bosnia and Herzegovina is incoming, right? Inevitable at this point, and Moscow is already building bridges with possibly new republic on European territory, Republic of Srpska, and as long as Republic of Srpska will maintain independence, Russia will do business with it. And if Republic of Srpska decides to then join Serbia, which may not be easy, by the way, for a number of reasons, then Russia will, of course, recognize that unity as well. But first, Russia definitely going to be one of the first countries, in my personal opinion, that will recognize independence of Republic of Srpska, right? And maybe Russia will provide some security assistance also. Which way, with how this will be done, I cannot know, of course. But these consistent meetings between Russian president and the leader of Bosnian Serbs is is uh, is is definitely indicator that something very serious is happening, and being prepared also, and sides are basically coordinating their current and the future moves. So I think Republic of Srpska will declare independence, and Russia will be one of the first. Maybe Russia will recognize earlier than Serbia will recognize Republic of Srpska, if Serbia will even recognize independence of this republic, right? Uh, and I'm saying if, because of the influence of the Brussels on Belgrade. And right now, dear friends, you can see on your map, on your screen, map of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and these orange areas are territories of the Republic of Srpska. Rest is the Bosniaks and the Croatians. They also have their own parts, but they get kind of united. But the Republic of Srpska is maintaining its separate status, right? So something important is going to happen soon on the Balkans, by the way, and I think Russia will provide whatever assistance is necessary to Serbian people. Zgljan newspaper is also reporting that Macron, by the way, is proposing to detain Russian tankers after one tanker was actually detained, of cost of France. And Macron's idea is to detain tankers for multiple weeks, right? So that will disrupt Russian oil exports. Also, Macron stated that a meeting of the chiefs of general staffs of the European countries following the detention of the tanker Borakau included in a package of anti-Russian sanctions was arranged. This meeting of heads of general staff of the European countries, and I guess during that meeting they will discuss next steps of escalation against Russia. And you already heard what Russian president said about actions of the France. It's a piracy, and the Russian president said, pirates usually are destroyed. That's how they are treated. That was a message, clearly. That was a message for French leadership to be careful. And now France wants to bring in this provocation other NATO countries too. First of all, countries from Coalition of Willing. We have a quote from his statement. In the coming days, the chiefs of our general staffs, in coordination with the NATO and within the framework of Coalition of Willing, will gather to develop joint actions in the coming weeks aimed at implementing a policy to contain the shadow fleet. So clearly escalation is being planned, dear friends. First steps already being taken by NATO countries. And now only question I have personally left is the scale and the potential Russian response. When and how it's all this stuff gonna happen. But it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that globalist and globalist puppet regimes in Europe, including in France, continue to escalate, man. This would not end well, but for them, first of all, right? But yet again, what we can do about it. All the possible warnings were issued by Moscow, all the possible recommendations, but they are just not listening, and will not listen until they will be forced to. That's how it is. Artem meanwhile is reporting that Polish Prime Minister continues to be hysterical, basically, around topic of Russia and alleged Russian threats and that kind of stuff. And he tried to explain why Russia has advantage over the Ukraine's European backers, and he's hysterical now about this, that, well, Russians have high morale and we don't, and we have to do something about it. And this guy is crazy, man. Someone should give him some sedatives, to calm him down. So Russian forces have higher morale than Ukraine's European backers, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said. He made remarks during the European Political Community Summit in Copenhagen on Thursday, yesterday, while discussing Western support for Ukraine. We have quotes here. The only Russian advantage is their morality or mentality here and here. Tusk said, pointing to his head and heart. I mean, they are ready to fight, they are ready to sacrifice, they are ready to suffer, he added. Tusk argued that compared to Russians' psychological advantage, Western governments have been not decisive enough, not determined enough. He warned that if Russia defeats Ukraine, it could later turn on Eastern Europe. If they win against Ukraine, in the future, it will be the end of my country and the end of Europe. I have no doubts, he said. And by the way, I'm not sure sedatives will help him at this point. Probably, some psychiatrist gonna be called in because I guess he really believes that here in Russia we are just sleeping and dreaming about attacking all of Europe, attacking whole world, then whole solar system, whole galaxy, then neighboring galaxies too. I mean, why not? And then to occupy whole of freaking visible universe, right? People like that probably have to be locked up in psychiatric clinics. That's how it is, man, because they are too dangerous. Because they come up with some false narratives and they say this false stuff so many times that eventually they themselves are beginning to believe in this crap, right? And then are acting on these false beliefs. And they are dangerous, for sure. Only thing Tusk said that was correct is that, well, yes, Russia has a high morale, for sure, and this is advantage, not just the only advantage, but one of the advantages. And of course, Russia is determined, Russians are determined to defend their homeland 100%. And the Russians know, by the way, that, well, we can retreat nowhere. We cannot retreat. It was not us that move our troops to US borders. It was not us that move our troops to borders of the other NATO countries. It was the NATO countries that moved their military infrastructure closer and closer and closer and closer to Russian borders, right? It's just factual. It's factually accurate statement. And of course, we will fight and we will die if necessary. That's how it is, man. I mean, from myself too, by the way. So on that point, Tusk definitely, correct that we have higher morale for sure, and we are on the right side of history. By the way, of course, we will have a high morale, of course. But when it comes to this second part of his hysteria, that after Ukraine, Russia gonna go and occupy all of Europe and whole of universe. I mean, sorry, but we don't need you. I mean, literally, we don't freaking need you, man, right? If not your, and I mean your Western elites, right? If not the interference and hostility of the Western elites and constant push of NATO infrastructure towards the Russian border, and if not their interference in Ukraine's domestic politics, and if not 2014 coup d'etat, there would be no Ukrainian crisis and hundreds of thousands of people would be alive. So what Tusk is talking about here? These people are dangerous, by the way. I'm telling you, they are coming up with some false narratives to justify their criminal actions. And they are repeating this false narrative so many times that they themselves are getting trapped in that, right? And beginning to actually believe in their nonsense. And then acting on that nonsense. Anyways, let's continue, dear friends. No news from Norway, where search is underway to find 5 military personnel that was lost. More personnel was lost, according to reports, but 5 are still missing, and this happened during the drills on some stealth skills right next to Russian border, by the way. you can see right now approximate area of exercises, and Norway, as you know, is bordering Russia in the north, right, in Karelia. So well, probably these soldiers will be fine there. They should have some training to navigate in the area, but yes, it is becoming quite regular stuff, isn't it? When even during the some simple manners or exercises, there is constantly some casualties and some incidents. Sometimes their military equipment is drowning in ponds and stuff. Sometimes the militaries are getting missing. There are crashes of vehicles and helicopters and the planes, and I mean, clearly, NATO armies are in big decline. By the way, despite all the statements that they're going to invest this much billions and this much billions and buy this many equipment and that level of professionalism and competency of their armed forces in NATO is declining beyond belief. That's what is happening, and I guess majority of our community will agree with me. RIA Novosti is also reporting that dear friends, I forgot to mention, dear friends, that this project only exists as long as I have your support, right? And let me, at least for new members, highlight that if you like my work, if you want to see potential further development of this project, please consider to support my work. You can do it through several means. You can donate to this project through PayPal and Boosty platforms, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page, where I have extra content on a regular basis. Links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And also during the live streams, like it is now at this moment, you can use a super chat feature or rant feature on Rumble. I'm streaming on both my channels simultaneously on YouTube and Rumble, so you can use this super chat or rant feature on Rumble to donate and also highlight certain topics, and you can become premium subscriber on Rumble, dear friends. Of course, all this support is crucial to maintain this project, and many thanks to everyone who supported and continues to support. Thank you. That's been said, dear friends. Let's continue with some other news, and next is a report from RIA Novosti that US has allegedly frozen discussions of military support for Kiev. This is due to government shutdown there, but let's go through some details. Washington has suspended discussions on aid to the Ukrainian armed forces due to the government shutdown. The Telegraph reports, British media outlet. Ukrainian source of the publication stated that the shutdown has called into question negotiations on possible agreements on drones. Okay, by the way, if true, there is at least some positive out of US government shutdown, isn't it? There will be some delays in weapon supply to this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky. But yet again, this is a report from Telegraph, so we should take it with a pinch of salt. But if true, okay, good. It would be even better if US will send no weapons whatsoever to a Kiev regime, because as I said many times before, by the way, there is nothing, literally nothing to benefit for US citizens, US society, American society in this proxy war that West is waging against Russia. It's definitely not in their interest to be engaged in this war, and it's exactly the opposite. Their best interest being harmed, because ideally, in ideal world, Russia and US could and should be maybe not necessarily allies, by the way, although there was historical times when we actually were allies, right? But at least we should have good working relationships, for God's sake, not the hostile ones, right? And we are not there all because of the hostility of American side, not because of the hostility of Moscow. This is also true. RIA Novosti is reporting that US is unlikely to transfer Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, according to Western media. which is also good news if true. The United States is unlikely to transfer Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, Reuters reports, citing sources. The Trump administration's desire to send long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine may prove unfeasible, as the current stockpile is intended for the U.S. Navy and other purposes. Tomahawks are unlikely, the article states. Yet again, Tomahawk is a quite old weapon system, by the way, and U.S. in stockpiles probably has like thousands and thousands of these missiles. And to say that like first generation of Tomahawks may not be transferred to Kiev regime is quite a big claim to make. But it's not just the Tomahawk that U.S. might use against Russia, isn't it? Through their proxy, hiding behind their proxy Kiev regime. There is GASSM missiles, there is ATACMS, hundreds of them already being used against Russia. There is other types of cruise missiles, and therefore I don't think it is that crucial which type of missiles US is intend to use against Russia. Any deployment of long-range weapon systems from US, any transfer of US weapon systems basically is a further escalation with Moscow and unacceptable, right? ATACMS or not, but what US does is totally unacceptable and is counterproductive for American interests. Hopefully people of in US will wake up to this truth and will impose some additional pressure on their government, because if this craziness continues, at some point, even some human error the situation may escalate so much so that even some human error may cause actual open full-scale war between these two major nuclear superpowers, US and Russia. And in that case, humanity is finished. So it again, the situation is extremely dangerous, isn't it? Doomsday clock for a reason has never been closer to midnight than it is right now. And unfortunately, if you take in account how irresponsible Western elites are, well, these risks, I guess, are even higher than I can imagine. Risks of full-out war. Dear friends, as I said, Tomahawks may not be sent if report from Reuters is correct, but some other long-range missiles probably will be sent, unfortunately, and that's why yesterday we had these reports that US will provide Kiev with intelligence. Formally, Kiev, in reality, it's all about US military personnel and intelligence that will operate with these long-range weapon systems, right? So US will provide intelligence for strikes against Russia. And this information, to me personally, is clearly indicated that certain long-range weapon systems will be deployed against us by US and potentially already being transferred on Kiev-controlled territory. I give you a quote from this article on Wall Street Journal. United States will provide formally Ukraine with their intelligence for long-range strikes against Russian energy infrastructure. President Trump recently signed an authorization for intelligence agencies and their Pentagon to assist Kiev with their strikes. News paper reported, and this paper says that Trump already signed authorization. It's an order, basically. Trump is not signing no authorizations. He's a president. And when he says something to militaries, that's the order. Right? So therefore, I guess certain long-range weapon systems, and maybe even Tomahawks, by the way, despite this report from Reuters, maybe even Tomahawks already probably are either somewhere in Europe and are being prepared to be shipped into Kiev-controlled territory, or maybe already are in Kiev-controlled territory. Meanwhile, Financial Times come up with an article that claims UK to be already part of these long-range strikes on Russia. So British military specialists are already supporting Kiev in carrying out strikes deep into Russian territory using Western weapons, writes their Financial Times. It is noted that Washington is also calling on NATO allies to expand intelligence support for Kiev in attacks on Russian targets. Wall Street Journal previously reported that Donald Trump approved the transfer of intelligence to Kiev. I did mention that previously. And friends, the question is why Financial Times is acknowledging now in its article that US, UK, US also, but in this particular case, UK's militaries are already directly engaged in the war against Russia and they're supporting Kiev regime. Maybe because this is part of preparations for next phase of escalation too, because until now, at least, Western propaganda outlets, including Financial Times and all the others, and also Western so-called politicians or elites were denying that they are directly involved. They were always saying that we just send weapons and that's it, right? Although we all know, and Russian leadership says many times before, that all these long-range strikes can be done only with direct involvement of their NATO military personnel, right, and their intelligence. And we have now confirmations of that from the Western side. That means direct involvement of UK in this war, and this is a bad signal actually, because if Western propaganda is being authorized now to come up with such articles, that means they are preparing public. Western elites, including in UK, are beginning to prepare public for actual direct clashes with Russia on large or relatively large scales, right? Which will mean casualties, of course, which will mean Russian counter strikes, retaliatory strikes, and so on. And they began preparing public for that. I think that's why Financial Times was authorized to come up with an article that says British military specialists are already supporting Kiev in carrying out strikes deep into Russian territory. This is acknowledgement, right? So, yes, unfortunately, as I said many times before, on daily basis, we have more and more indicators that this next phase of escalation by the NATO against Russia is unavoidable at this point, it seems like. And Russia will retaliate. Russia will retaliate in that case, and with such a force and a scale that after that, shortly after that, Western elites will eventually capitulate, I think. Again, Austria is also reporting that G7 countries transferred to Kiev regime $25.5 billion as a loan secured by frozen Russian assets, profits from the frozen Russian assets. Okay, in 2025, G7 countries will provide Ukraine with 25.5 billion in loans from frozen Russian assets, according to RIA Novosti's calculations based on data from the Ukrainian Ministry of Finance and the European Commission. Last year, G7 countries approved a loan to Kiev totaling approximately 50 billion, financed by proceeds from the frozen Russian assets. As of October 1st, countries had already allocated $26.5 billion to Ukraine under this scheme. Okay. The United States was the first to transfer funds at the end of last year, totaling $1 billion, but no receipts from them have been reported since then. The remaining participants in the scheme began marking contributions this year. The European Union contributes the most, $15.8 billion. Canada contributes $3.4 billion. Japan, $3.3 billion. Japan, what the hell? And UK, $3 billion. Okay, by the way, I mean, what can I say? It's sad. It's sad that all this stuff is happening, but not surprising at all, because I have said many times before, if anyone had any doubts that Russia will never return these frozen assets, and Western elites will steal it eventually. Well, those people were mistaken if they were doubting that. Also, dear friends, let's continue with this report that Israeli police confirmed 470 activists from 41 boats were processed at the Ashdod port after trying to breach a Gaza blockade. This is from Gaza flotilla, by the way. They were handed to immigration authority and the Israel prison before deportation. One global Sumud vessel still heads to Gaza and expected to be intercepted. And also, yesterday I mentioned during the live stream that reports are that dozens and dozens of vessels took off from Turkey towards the Gaza, and I guess in next several days those dozens of vessels will also get closer to Gaza Strip and most likely will be detained there arrested by Israeli forces. TASS news agency is reporting that Trump announced the start of armed conflict between the United States and the drug cartels. He is declaring war kind of on drug cartels. US President Trump declared the country to be in a state of armed conflict with the drug cartels. This was reported by New York Times, which reviewed the American leaders' notice to Congress. According to the newspaper, the new status of the campaign against the drug cartels is intended to provide a legal justification for the previous strikes on ships in the Caribbean. Well, I mean, it does not work that way, isn't it? That you kill some people in Caribbean and then you come up with some decisions to justify this killing. No, it does not work that way. Those people, members of the cartels or not, were killed unlawfully. U.S. president did not have the authority to execute them, to order militaries to execute those people, because no one freaking knows who were those people, right? Trump said the actions of the cartel representatives would be considered an armed attack on the United States, and the smugglers would be considered unlawful combatants. The U.S. Navy has already destroyed at least 2 speedboats in international waters in the Caribbean, carrying a total of 14 crew members, which were allegedly transporting drugs from Venezuela. In his speech to 80th session of the UN General Assembly on September 23rd, Trump stated that U.S. would continue to strike vessels allegedly linked to Venezuelan drug cartels. I mean, we all know what's going on, isn't it, dear friends? It's regime change preparations against Venezuela by U.S. Marco Rubio is leading this charge on regime change. Although, by the way, if Venezuelan people are not okay with their country being recolonized by US, despite their attitude towards the Maduro's government, despite the attitude of Venezuelan people towards their own government, if they are against recolonization of their country, in that case, they will fight. People of Venezuela will fight. And if they're going to fight, US will lose this war against Venezuela. I don't think US militaries are in a position to defeat people of Venezuela. Even if US drops nukes, by the way, they're not going to defeat Venezuela. If people will fight. I don't know mood of the people in Venezuela. I don't know what they think, what their attitude is towards all these developments. But if they will fight, they're not going to be defeated. For sure. And they might fight, by the way. They might fight. And also, Trump is playing very dangerous games while declaring basically war on cartels. This should be police operations because whenever militaries are doing some stuff, by the way, militaries are not trained in ways that police is trained, right? Militaries, during the military operations, collateral damages is much higher than during the special police operations, because yet again there is a very different weapons, they're very different training, right? And if US gonna go ahead with attacks on these cartels all over the Latin America where these cartels are operating, then US leadership and US militaries will find out soon that those cartels can strike back too. Those cartels may actually wage a war against the US, and I think many cartels nowadays have entire units, by the way, that are undergone training in Ukraine as a mercenaries while fighting on a Kiev side, right? And many of them are familiar with their drone operations. Many of them are familiar with their operations with ITGMs and their manpods and stuff like that. So those cartels might bring war on the US soil. And maybe they're already doing this, man. Maybe they are already doing this because there was reports this morning that Chevron oil refinery in El Segundo, California, was on fire. You can see on your screen right now, dear friends, area of this refinery, which is clearly on fire. And I'm not sure that fire was dealt by now. I guess emergency services still are working there. And according to reports that I see on internet, there was a huge explosion and then fire erupted, right? And first thought that come to my mind, especially because before I see this news about this oil refinery, I was reading news about this decision of Trump to kind of declare war on cartels. And when I see this explosion and fire in oil refinery, I was thinking, maybe those cartels are declaring war on US then, right? And can you imagine level of harm they can do to US economy if they will begin deploying their already trained units in drone operations and ITGM and other operations to conduct long range strikes, basically on oil refineries, all sorts of warehouses, depots, and so on. So is it US in a position to actually declare war on drug cartels and won that battle? I don't know. Man. But let's see what investigators will say. I would not be surprised for sure if we will find out that there was some outside impact on this oil refinery, and that resulted into this catastrophic failure there. And refinery is quite big, by the way. It refines around 300,000 barrels of oil every single day. So it's a relatively big refinery. And that's it for today's news update, dear friends. News segment. Hopefully you did find it informative and useful. And if so, please like the video and leave some commentary. And I will now join community chat. There was no super chat on Rumble, and I guess there was no donations during the stream. Otherwise, Anya would tell me. So let's go through chat now. And as always, I will scroll, dear friends, comment section or chat. And when I see comment or question directed to me, I will react on it. So Bhagavad Gita is commenting, no US made Tomahawk cruise missiles for UKR. They said the same thing about tanks and jets. In all likelihood, they are already there. And I have to agree with you, dear friend, because this is usually what happens, isn't it? Whenever they are beginning to talk about certain weapon systems, usually those weapons already are on the ground. And Why should we be surprised if this is exactly the case in regards to Tomahawk missiles too? So I agree with you. Also, Nikos is commenting. Yesterday, the Duran made Duran, dear friends, is of course one of the leading channels in alternative media in news and political commentary segment. So yesterday, the Duran made skating video about Russia and the US. Much focus was on Putin and his misunderstanding of the US system, with them concluding that he has burned political capital. Okay. I think his plan and my hope was to end the war in this term, then focus on his last term on finding a successor. I think now people around him will tell him, we respect and support you, but it's time. And the comment continues, dear friends. There is a third part in the comment. That's the third part. My question is that Duran has been saying that a man called Alexei Dumin is climbing the ranks for the presidency. I don't know about him. What do you think, and how capable is he? Well, it's not just you that know very little about Alexei Dumin. If we are talking about same people, I don't know much about this personality either. He's an aide of Russian president. Yet again, if we are talking about same personalities, by the way, because sometimes it happens that even in same institution, several people are working with the same name and surname. But if I understand correctly, then the person that you are mentioning is aide of Russian president. And that's about it. I would not consider him to be, at least now, to be potential replacement of Putin, because he is not a public figure. His aide, absolutely not, right? And the vast majority of citizens here in Russia will have no freaking idea who Alexei Dumin is. Yet again, if we are talking about same people, right? So I have not watched yesterday's Duran show. I have to watch it. I have to listen to opinions of Alexander and Alex to understand context, what they were talking about, and then I might be able to give you some more informative answer. But yet again, Dumin, if you're talking about aid of a Russian president, is just a high-ranking official in a Kremlin, in administration, right? He is a secretary of a state council, okay. But yet again, not really a public figure. So I don't think he's potentially candidacy for president, because Russia is a massive country, by the way, and to become a candidate for presidency, you have to be well known to people. Otherwise, if you are not really well known, even support of Putin, for example, and other popular figures here in Russia might not be enough to give you a majority on elections, man. You have to be well known in the country, and there is not that many people actually here in Russia that are well known on a federal level. So that's my take. Yet again, maybe because I don't really pay much attention to this domestic some political stuff, maybe I'm missing something there. But if we are talking about same personality, then Jumin is a high-ranking official in a presidential administration in a Kremlin, and that's about it, right? Uh, I cannot even tell you if when I last time have seen him on public. So how he can be considered a potential replacement of or successor of the Putin? No, I don't think so. And when it comes to that other part of your question, that some people might ask Putin that it is time. Yet again, I have not seen a show on Duran, and I don't know context. But what I can tell you is that no one can tell Putin it's time to go or not go. He's, I mean, he's well respected, by the way, well respected politician, and no one would dare, by the way, to mess around. It makes no sense, right? It just makes no sense. Maybe some people in elites, in political elites, disagree with his restraint policies or with any other of his policies, but nevertheless, I don't think anybody will dare to, uh, you know, push towards either some sort of internal power shift or regime change or something. No, man, I don't believe this is realistic. Putin will go when he will decides, and I think he might decide to leave presidency once this conflict will end, because I can imagine how tired he is. By the way, with so many years being under such a heavy pressure, man, it's a hard work, right? So I think once this conflict will end, he will probably um, move on, and then at that point we will have information who his successor, who he will choose to be his successor, right? But I don't really believe that there are gonna be any uh, move inside their elites to replace Putin or to force him to resign or something. No, man. Uh, I don't believe in that. So that's my take on that. Hmm? Mickey is commenting, well, Levan would not ban you, and I have not heard Rumble does it either. What happened? Or I missed something? Um, oh, Scooby is here. Hey, I am allowed to comment again. Uh, it's about you, Scooby. Did you think that I banned you or something? Come on, man. No, it's impossible. I don't ban people, man. Only if someone goes on a rampage and begins insulting everyone around. That's the only case, basically, I might ban someone. Otherwise, I mean, it's very, very rare occasion that I'm banning anyone. All I do, man, is I'm blocking these freaking bots, man, crypto bots and other freaking nonsense that is happening on YouTube. By the way, so many bots, it's just unbelievable, right? Uh, that's what I ban. But members of community, no, man. If no matter what opinion you have on what topic, it's none of my business. It's your opinion. And as long as your opinion is shared with respect to others, no one gonna ban you, man. It's not on my page. No, you know, we might disagree all day long on everything, and there is not a chance I will ban you. Why would I? Let's continue, dear friends. Let's see, capital Qs, capital Qs. I'm scrolling now, dear friends, in search of capital Qs or capital letters. While I'm scrolling, dear friends, let me share information about schedule. Today I will have this live stream, and that's about it. On Fridays I want to take it a little easier, because from Monday to Thursday this two updates with a late live stream, and also constant updates on Telegram and Twitter X, and preparations, of the programs themselves is quite exhausting stuff. And on Fridays, I will take it easier. On Saturdays, ideally, I want to have a day off on Saturdays. I had day off last Saturday. I don't know about tomorrow, but if you don't see my update, then that means I took day off. And on Sundays, we will have traditional Sunday live stream and fundraising stream, as it is the case always. Community chat, big community chat. So that's when it comes to schedule. I will need some time to adapt to this new schedule, and I will. But on Thursday, yesterday I was already, I wake up tired. So it's quite, especially these late streams. Late streams are, quite something. It's a great opportunity, absolutely, to be in this field and to be able to do this work. But same time, it's sometimes you just get, tired. There is a super chat from Banzo Beans right now on Rumble. Let me highlight, dear friends. Banzo Beans, of course, our moderator on Rumble, and John Dickinson on YouTube. So let me highlight. Thank you very much, John, for dollar donation and their super chat. A little rant of gratitude for the increase in crypto bots. You are attracting more and more attention. Is it good then? I mean, sometimes I have to delete some 20, 30, maybe more, these crypto bots, by the way. I mean, it takes time too, isn't it? This work is time consuming already. And I mean, when then you have to share another, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes to go through chat and then begin deleting these crypto bots. Well, it's something, but because of these bots, by the way, and that kind of stuff, I shut down comment section on the Telegram, because I cannot be there always, right? But I cannot shut down comment section on YouTube and Rumble, isn't it? So therefore, I just have to delete those bots. And there was also a super chat from Scooby. Let me highlight, dear friends. It's a tester, super chat from Scooby, but nevertheless, let me show it to Scooby that it did work there. So thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and donation. This round feature clearly works. Thank you for dollar donation. And dear friends, let me continue scrolling through chat. There was a donation on the Boosty. Okay. Anya will send me now a screenshot. There was donation on Boosty, and I will highlight that too, dear friends. And Scooby is also commenting something strange being happening with my account. I think, sometimes there are some glitches, isn't it, on different platforms, and maybe that's what is happening. Last couple of days there was some technical issues with Rumble that I experienced, for example. I don't know what was going on there, but there is days when I cannot upload video on Rumble. Literally, I no matter how many times I'll try, it would not upload. So it happens. This is different platforms do have some issues time to time, and it's unfortunate, of course, but. And Scooby, also I see on Patreon you left the community. I don't know it was your intent or you did it by mistake. What was going on? Because Anya told me that when subscribed you paid for whole year of subscription, and what happened there? Why you left Patreon community? I mean, maybe it was mistake of some sort. Please write about to me on my mail, which is under this video in the description box. And if you did it by mistake, I can. There is certain feature I can send you a link, and you will join community again without paying nothing, because you're already done. While subscribing, you donated for a whole year with $5 donations, isn't it? It was 5 or 10. It was 10 a month. So if it was mistake or some error, let me know, Scooby, and I will, I will remember how it's done. I will send you a link on mail, and you will use that link and become a Patreon subscriber again. There was a boosted, dear friends, right now. Let me highlight her. Right now, donation on boosted, dear friends, from Alexander G. And let me highlight her. This. So thank you very much, Alexander, for your support and attention. And comment from Alexander is just talking of.
Alexander, it was my pleasure.
Alisa, thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to help.
Okay, great. That's AI, by the way, Alice. So thank you very much, Alexander, from me and from Alice also. And comment from Alexander is just a token of support. You are doing good, friend. Thank you very much for your kind words and support, attention. Thank you. And I don't understand on which words Alisa is reacting. Anyways, this is Russian AI, by the way, Alisa, and she does good talks in good English, isn't it? Without accent. And there was also donation, dear friends, on PayPal right now from Douglas. As always, sir, on PayPal, I only highlight first name of the person. Thank you very much, Douglas, for your generous donation on PayPal of $70. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support and attention. And the comment is gift. So thank you very much. And let's continue, dear friends, with the community chat. You see, dear friends, Timbuktu is commenting that Rumble has been doing upgrades, so stuff might be getting a bit glitching a bit. So I mean, that's the explanation. Thank you very much, Timbuktu, for giving us this additional information. You know, things happened, and hopefully, dear friends, Rumble will gain momentum and will become a more capable and their platform, a more attractive platform, and maybe one day we will have a really serious alternative to their YouTube, because we need this competition. By the way, more platforms are available, the better for us, isn't it? For users on these platforms. So thank you, Timbuktu, for giving us additional information. Svetlana Vladimirovna is commenting, other than KPRF, men becoming our next leader, I guess I'd prefer Pyotr Tolstoy to be their next president. At least he stands up for Russia's interests and is well educated and cultured. Pyotr Tolstoy, you mean journalist, isn't it? I guess you are talking about journalist, former lead, anchor on First TV. Maybe he's still working on TV. I mean, I have to do something about it. I have to put like 2 TV screens there and just turn it on and to see at least who works there, because yeah, I know he's an MP now, right? But this is an old figure. But when it comes to new faces, I have no freaking idea who works on which TV, and I don't even know what TV stations are out there, new ones. I mean, old ones I knew, but so I mean, interesting taker. I don't even have a opinion yet on who would I support during the presidential elections. It's too early, I guess, to think about it right now. But let's see. Thank you for sharing, Svetlana. Question from Barner account: are they still selling enriched uranium to their dome? Russian president actually spoke about uranium yesterday, and he said that Russia is second when it comes to supplies of enriched uranium into US. Что сделать? There is some sound issues. Okay, I will deal with it right now. maybe it's because of the internet. Okay, hopefully, sound will get better now. So yesterday, Russian president spoke about this topic, and Russia still continues to supply enriched uranium to US. Russia is on second place. First is American, French, or American European company. That's how Russian president said that supplies some 60+% of uranium. Russia supplies 25% of enriched uranium for American nuclear power plants. Last year, Russia made some $800 million on this export. This year, number will be around 1.2 billion, and next year, number will be around 800 billion. So Putin did went to in quite depth when as in case of other topics too, while commenting on this cooperation between Russia and US in nuclear field. So yes, Russia continues to supply, and some might ask why Russia supplies US with uranium, or why US buys uranium from Russia, and the answer is that it's profitable that way. It's business, right? It's business, and countries continue to do business even when maybe not officially, but de facto they are in hostile stance. It happens, and it's just factual, right? So I personally don't like that Russia continues to do business with hostile countries, or with the countries that are led by hostile elites, local elites. But there is explanation for everything, isn't it? Lion of Judea is commenting, great update, listening on my way to work. Well, thank you very much for your kind words. I appreciate. Что, Вань? And I guess that's about it for a shorter community chat today. My apologies, dear friends, if I miss your question unwillingly, but we did had a good exchange of opinions, isn't it? As it is always the case. Sunday we're gonna have a big community chat, so live stream might last like 3 hours plus. So I will take my time to react on many comments as possible, and to highlight as many comments as possible. So thank you very much, dear friends. Have a wonderful day, great upcoming weekends. Take care, and see you tomorrow or on Sunday. Bye for now.